Hi mga Serjents! Buti naman at napadpad kayo dito sa ating channel. So sana sa mapag-uusapan natin ngayong araw ay makatulong ako sa inyong school at makapagdagdag ako ng kaalaman sa inyong mga isipan. So without further ado, simulan na natin ang ating talakayan. Let's bring it on!
Ang mundo ng numero parang bituin sa langit. Nagkikislapan at may sariling awit. Mga simbolo, mga bilang, mga hugis na makulay. Sa dulo ng kwento, mahika ang taglay. Kung bakit ng linya, ikonekta bawat dulo. Ang bawat numero, may lihim na kwento. Magsaya, magsaya, sa mundo ng matematika. May kwento, may tanong, at sagot na mahiwaga. Bilangin ang bituin, bumulong sa hangin. Umawit, sumayaw, sabay-sabay na humiyaw. Bilangin ang bituin, bumulong sa hangin. Umawit, sumayaw, sabay-sabay na humiyaw.
Hi Serjents! Welcome back! At para sa video na ito, ang pag-uusapan natin ay ang absolute value. Ngayon, pag sinabi nating absolute value, it means that it is the distance noong number mula sa zero. Gaano siya kalayo mula sa zero? Ngayon, paano ba natin ito mas mai-interpret ng mabuti? For example, I have here my number line and ito yung mga points na ipa-plot natin. Let's plot muna yung point A sa positive 3. So, nandito siya. Pag sinabi natin absolute value, so ano ba yung absolute value ng point A or absolute value ng 3? So, i-measure lang natin gaano siya kalayo sa 0. So, it is 3 units away from 0. Ibig sabihin, yung positive 3, 3 units ang layo niya sa 0. And that's the absolute value. Yung distance from 0. Okay. How about yung point B, negative 3? So, nandito siya. Pag hinanap natin ang absolute value ng negative 3, tinatanong lamang natin kung gaano siya kalayo sa 0. So, let's count. 1, 2, 3. It means, from 0, ang negative 3 ay 3 units away din mula sa 0. It means, the distance of positive 3 and the distance of negative 3 from 0 are equal. Same distance silang dalawa mula sa 0. Pareha silang 3 units away from 0. So, is true with negative 4. So, pagka pinlat natin yung negative 4, kung gusto nating malaman ng absolute value, tinatanong natin gaano kalayo ang distance niya mula sa 0. So, ang distance ng negative 4 mula sa 0 ay 4 units away. So, yun yung absolute value. And in terms of expression, paano natin to makikita at paano natin to isi-simplify? Let's say I have this 6 expression. So, ginawa kong color yellow yung symbol ng absolute value. Yung dalawang vertical line. Kasi baka ma-misinterpret nyo na 1 siya. Kasi almost similar sila kasi isang guhit lang. So, that's our absolute value. So, ano ba ang absolute value ng 3? So, tinatanong natin dito, gaano kalayo yung positive 3 sa 0? Okay. So, ang sagot is 3. So, in short, lahat ng number na nasa loob ng absolute value becomes positive. Okay? Absolute value of a positive number will always be a positive number. How about yung number 2? Paano kung negative 3 na siya? Ano ang absolute value ng negative 3? Lahat ng nasa loob ng absolute value symbol ay nagiging positive. Kasi nga, distance ito. Kaya yung negative 3, positive 3 din ang absolute value niya. So, the absolute value of a negative number is always positive pa rin. So, everything na nasa loob ng absolute value ay nagiging positive. Okay? How about yung number 3? may negative sa labas, tapos positive 3 yung nasa loob. Ano ang simplified nito? So, ang simplify nito is, of course, kunin muna natin yung absolute value ng 3 sa loob. So, ang absolute value ng positive 3 sa loob ay positive 3 pa rin. And then, now, na-solve na natin yung absolute value, maiiwan na lang yung negative sa labas. So, we have now negative 3. Which means, na ang naaapektuhan lang ng absolute value is yung mga numbers sa loob ng absolute value symbol. Hindi naaapektuhan nito yung nasa labas, kaya naging negative 3 yung sagot natin dito. Okay? So, kinuha natin yung absolute value ng positive 3, which is also positive 3, and na-left out na yung negative, kaya naging negative 3 na siya. Kasi nasa labas yung negative, kaya hindi siya naging positive. And so is true with number 4 and 5. Paano yon? So, sa number 4, negative, absolute value of negative 3. Ano ba ang absolute value ng negative 3? Again, nagiging positive lahat ng nasa loob. So, that is positive 3. And then, we now have the negative sa labas at yung positive 3 na ating sagot. Ang sagot dito ay negative 3 din. Okay, nakikita ba? So, basta nasa loob ng absolute value, siya yung nagiging positive. And after you turn it into positive, syempre mawawala na yung absolute value symbol dahil nagamit na natin siya. How about number 5? So, puro nasa loob. Negative, negative 3. So, ang ginagawa natin dito, pagka may process tayo sa loob ng absolute value, before we apply the absolute value, uunahin mo yung loob. Isi-simplify mo muna. So, that is negative times negative 3. So, alam natin, negative times negative is positive. Okay, so na-simplify na natin yung nasa loob. Now, pwede na natin i-apply yung absolute value. The absolute value of positive 3 is also positive 3. Yan, ganun ang absolute value. So, pagka nasa loob, anything inside the absolute value, nagiging positive. Kasi it talks about distance. Pag nasa labas, edi leave it. Okay, you just copy that and continue on simplify. Yung number 6, ayan, medyo may operation na tayo sa loob. Negative 2 minus 3. So, before we do the absolute value, kailangan simplified muna yung nasa loob niya. Okay? So, kailangan muna natin sagutan yung number 6. Negative 2 minus 3. So, ito ay subtraction of integers. We do the keep, switch, change. Let's keep the negative 2, switch minus to plus, and then change positive 3 to negative 3. Now, meron na tayong negative 2 plus negative 3. So, this is addition of integers and they are same sign. Pag same sign, we just add and keep the sign. So, let's add 2 and 3, that's 5, and keep the sign. Therefore, ang simplify ng nasa loob is negative 5. At dahil simplified na yung nasa loob ng absolute value, pwede na natin i-apply yung absolute value. So, the absolute value of negative 5 magiging positive 5. Okay, so tandaan lang, i-perform muna yung operation inside the absolute value before we apply the effect of the absolute value in which anything inside it becomes positive. Kasi we talk about distance. Okay? And ayun lang yung absolute value natin. Ganun lang. As simple as that. Lahat ng nasa loob niya magiging positive. Pero before you apply, kailangan mo na simplified yung nasa loob. Yan. And let's see kung nakuha mo yung concept ng absolute value. Try mong sagutan itong tatlong ito. So, combination na to ng ating order of operation and applying the absolute value. So, pwede mong i-pause para makapag-solve ka. Then, let's check later kung nakuha mo ang tamang sagot. And, let's see kung nakuha mo talaga ang tamang sagot. So, let's answer number 1 first. The absolute value of 3 plus 5 times negative 2. Yan. So, i-simplify natin yung nasa loob muna bago natin gamitin yung absolute value. And according to Gemda's rule, mas inuuna natin ang multiplication. So, 5 times negative 2, that is negative 10. And of course, copy the rest. Yan. So, pwede na nating isolve uli yung nasa loob. 3 plus negative 10. So, addition of integers. Different sign, we subtract. That's 7. And copy the sign of the larger number, which is yung 10 na isang negative. Kaya, negative 7. And since simplified na tong nasa loob, ang answer sa number 1 is positive 7. Okay, lahat ng nasa loob ng absolute value nagiging positive. Kung negative siya, edi magiging positive. Kung positive na siya, edi positive pa rin. So, yun ang sagot sa number 1. Nakuha ba? Ayan. Tingnan naman natin yung number 2. 5 plus 7 minus the absolute value of negative 2 plus negative 5. So, hindi pa rin simplified yung nasa loob ng absolute value, kaya isimplify muna natin siya. Negative 2 plus negative 5. So, since this is same sign, you just add. That's 7. And keep the sign, that's negative 7. And copy everything na hindi pa natin nasosolve. And then, we apply the absolute value. So, yung negative 7 magiging positive 7. So, let's just copy the rest. And then, we can now solve. So, this is addition and subtraction, same level of hierarchy. Ibig sabihin from left to right. 5 plus 7 muna. That will become 12. I-copy yung minus 7. And 12 minus 7, that's positive 5. So, ganun tayo mag-solve ng expression involving absolute value. I-simplify muna ang nasa loob ng absolute value and then apply the effect of the absolute value kung saan ginagawa itong positive, saka natin i-further solve pa ang expression. So, the answer for number 2 is positive 5. Okay, di ba madali lang? Now, let's have number 3. So, dalawang absolute value na ito. Paano natin isa-solve yon? So, again, unahin natin yung nasa loob ng absolute value. I-simplify muna natin siya. 6 plus 3, that is positive 9. So, copy the rest. And yung positive 9, pag in-absolute value mo siya, positive 9 pa rin. Copy the rest. And may another absolute value pa tayo dito, isolve muna natin yon. Negative 6 plus 3. So, different sign, we subtract and copy the sign of the larger number. That is negative 3. And copy the rest. Tapos, ilabas na natin sa absolute value yung negative 3. Ang absolute value ng negative 3 is always positive. Kaya, positive 3 yun. Then, copy the rest. And wala na tayong absolute value. Just continue on solving na lang using the GEMDAS rule. So, meron tayo ditong plus at multiply. Ano bang dapat unahin? GEMDAS rule, multiply muna. Yan. So, 5 times 3, that's 15. Copy the rest. And we have now negative 9 plus 15. And ito ay different sign, we subtract. And copy the sign of the larger number. So, the answer is positive 6. At iyan ang sagot sa ating tatlong question. Tama ba ang nakuha mo? Yan. And that's how we do absolute value. Lahat ng nasa loob ng absolute value nagiging positive kasi when we say absolute value, we talk about distance of the number from 0. So, whether you go to the right or you go to the left, same distance lang sila na nako-cover. Okay. So, yun lang naman para sa ating absolute value. And sana naintindihan mo at ito ay applicable sa ating GEMDAS rule. Lagi nating ina-apply ang GEMDAS rule. And that's all for today. That's our absolute value. Goodbye, everyone!